In a diplomatic moment that underscores Egypt's expanding role as a pivotal architect of regional stability, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had received Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Cairo on Wednesday for high-level strategic discussions. This is a visit, the third by President Erdogan to Egypt within a remarkably short period. And it definitely marks a deepening of bilateral relations, reflecting the Egyptian leadership towards a pivotal role towards constructive and shared regional responsibility. The agenda for the Cairo summit is both broad as well as consequential, spanning security, political coordination, and definitely economic expansion, where the two leaders co-chaired the second session of the High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council, a mechanism that is reinvigorated following sustained diplomatic outreach between Cairo and Ankara. Well, tonight with our esteemed guest, His Excellency Ambassador Youssef Zada, former assistant to the Foreign Minister, together are going to shed light on the conference between the two leaders, the significance of the visit, the timing, and more concerning the role that has been reinforced by both leaderships in order to achieve this sense of political dialogue. And definitely this important visit is reflecting the country's position as a key architect of regional as well as international dialogue. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us. Thank you. And we'll be watching this report and we'll be back for further discussion.
In a day marked by historic engagement and forward-looking diplomacy, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi welcomed his Turkish counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, to Cairo, ushering in a new era of cooperation between the two countries. Erdogan's official visit, his third to Egypt in under 2 years, reflects a deliberate strategic partnership built on mutual interests and shared regional challenges. Following official talks, the two leaders co-chaired the second meeting of the High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council, a framework designed to translate political dialogue into tangible cooperation across sectors. At a joint press conference, President al-Sisi highlighted the deepening institutional cooperation, reaffirming commitments to expand trade, investment, and intra-regional linkage under the Strategic Council's umbrella. The President outlined ambitious plans to increase bilateral trade toward $15 billion and enhance facilitation for Turkish business engagement in Egypt's dynamic market. President Erdogan in turn expressed appreciation for the Egyptian hospitality and underscored the growing momentum in bilateral relations, a reflection of intensified visits and strengthened legal frameworks guiding cooperation. Erdogan reaffirmed Turkish intent to boost trade and investment, noting Egypt remains Turkey's largest trading partner in Africa and promising expanded economic collaboration that creates jobs and resilience against global economic fluctuations. The summit culminated in the signing of the joint declaration of the High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council and a series of agreements and memoranda of understanding covering economic, energy, and other fields, signaling a leap forward in institutional and practical ties between the two nations. Parallel to the political dialogue, the Egypt-Turkey Business Forum convened leading figures from both countries' private sectors, a vivid illustration of Cairo's success in mobilizing economic diplomacy and opening wider pathways for trade and investment. Today's events in Cairo, from presidential exchange and strategic council deliberations to joint declarations and business engagement, underscore Egypt's role as a catalyst for regional cooperation and economic integration, poised to shape a stable, prosperous future in the region.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Youssef Zada, former assistant to the Foreign Minister, thank you so much for joining us. Well, this official reception for His Excellency President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his visit to Egypt comes actually timely, and we can see here Egypt's ability through this important visit to transform diplomacy into what we've seen, the results-driven partnership between both countries.
Yes, well, we should note that the Prime Minister Erdogan went to Saudi Arabia before coming here. And we all know that there is a sort of an alliance between Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Egypt these days to confront many things that are happening in the region. So it's not a surprise that this visit by Prime Minister Erdogan comes in place. Now, the timing, of course, as well coincides with the American threats against Iran. And as we all know, President Sisi himself and also the Turkish Prime Minister had some communications with both the Americans and the Iranians to abort any military intervention in Iran. And I think we succeeded so far, and President Trump, as we know, is quite an unpredictable president, and he changed his mind and he decided to enter into negotiations. Everybody says it is a Trump policy to get the maximum concessions from the other party, but anyway, I think this is important to note. So the alliance between these countries, Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Egypt, and also the Iranian factor, I think these are the main motives for this visit at this time.
Yes, actually it comes timely, and it once again shows the important role that has been played by the Egyptian diplomacy in order to act as a bridge between the different regional powers and international actors as well, isn't it?
Yes, and as we know, Madam, the White Book of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs called the Strategic Balance was issued on 17 December.
Yes.
And it explains, of course, the Egyptian foreign policy when it comes to world events that happen around us, whether in the region or internationally. And in brief, the policy says that we have to engage peacefully to defuse any misunderstanding between the neighboring countries. Now, this doesn't mean that we are passive. We talk with several warring parties, if you like, and we mediate between the animosities happening. Also, we know that, of course, our role in Gaza is very pivotal with the 20-point plan of President Trump. And hopefully the second phase of this mission and this enters into place. Not very sure. Today also many people were, something like 30 people were killed in Gaza. Still they are not opening up the crossings. So to make things short, the Egyptian foreign policy is a very wise and shrewd policy. I think it's one of the best in the world so far.
Yes, we've seen actually in a press conference that was held earlier in the day between the two presidents, President Abdel Fattah Sisi emphasized that the security of the region is a collective responsibility. Egypt once again rejected, Ambassador, any sort of attempts to divide Somalia. So once again comes our role as a stabilizing force in the region.
Yes, and before that, of course, we're talking about the Gazans
yes.
to leave the country, or to leave the Gaza Strip. So we also should talk about Sudan. And Sudan, we know the war that has been raging there. And of course, we have some foreign parties, including Arab ones, unfortunately intervening. And Egypt also playing a role to defuse. And I think there's a plan that was set by the United States. I read about it only today, by special envoy for Sudan, appointed by President Trump, to present the peace plan in Sudan. Now, I hope this comes into place because Sudanese people really are suffering a lot throughout the past years.
Yes, definitely. We have also seen His Excellency the President asserting on the importance of reaching a ceasefire in Sudan, and this is once again stressing Egypt's success in advancing the ceasefire conflict resolution in that area. And as you've mentioned, Ambassador, with the flashback, Egypt has been active in trying to reach a ceasefire in Sudan.
Yes, and Libya as well.
Yes.
I mean, we've been trying to solve all the unfortunate problems that are surrounding us in the region. And this is part of the policy that was printed on 17th of December, as I mentioned. It is that we are trying to defuse any animosities before they escalate into a full-blown war.
Yeah.
We played a role in Libya. Whether it's be successful or not, we're talking about this, not talking about this really, but we're talking about an Egyptian role to help mediation. I mean, it was pivotal, of course, us and Qatar and the United States with Steve Witkoff when it comes to the Israelis and Gaza Strip. I mean, now we've seen the results. The war has ended, tentatively, I hope. And the Rafah crossing was opened for experimentation 2 days ago. So I think things are coming into place, hopefully.
Yes. Once again, the core, which is the Palestinian issue, and Egypt has been actually in the center of the resolution and emphasizing the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people. That's the core. We've been crystal clear in our policy concerning an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. This once again is asserting our diplomatic leadership, and this came in the press conference also earlier in the day.
Quite right, and we've seen the General Assembly last September with 154 nations.
Yes.
With the state of Palestine recognizing the state of Palestine. So this is quite the momentum of public opinion abroad against the Israeli atrocities in Gaza and the famine they caused. Of course, this changed public opinion in many countries, especially the European ones, and African and South American, everywhere. It is important that we also have to explain our vision when it comes to the Palestinian rights, and I think the Palestinian state, having a Palestinian state is still there, still on the table, and I hope one day we'll see some.
Yes, and the importance, of course, of implementing U.S. President Donald Trump peace plan.
Yes, when he came here, I think 17th of October it was, and the peace plan was here, and I mean, I think it was also asserting Egypt's importance. He came to Sharm el-Sheikh, he didn't go to Israel and sign it there. I mean, he came from Israel to Egypt. He didn't sign it in Doha or anywhere else or the United States, so it was very important that Egypt was the meeting point of all the European leaders who attended, all the Asian leaders, all the Arab leaders, and the signing of this agreement. Now, implementing this agreement stands not solely on Israel, but on all the parties involved. As you know, the Israeli policy has been like this for years. I mean,
yes.
Also puts obstacles in implementing any peace plan that comes into place.
Yes. Well, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had emphasized also in the press conference that regional security and stability is requiring concerted efforts, requiring cooperation among the different countries in order to address the multiple crises. And we see, of course, the challenges that are emanating.
Yes, and I think everybody in the region and across the globe knows what's happening here. Egypt has been playing this role very actively. I mean, it wasn't doing this a few years back. As we know, through the Mubarak years, with respect to him, we were a sort of a passive policy. I mean, things are happening around us and we are not doing anything about it. No, now we engage into the problems happening in the region because it affects our economy, it affects tourism, it affects the Suez Canal, as we've seen before. So there are many factors that affect our well-being in Egypt, and that's why we interfere. And our interference hopefully succeeds in many situations.
Yes. In the press conference, President Erdogan highlighted his appreciation for the warm reception in Egypt. We've seen also the procedures of the High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council and a significance of a dense sequence of reciprocal, definitely, visits between both leaders.
Yes, and this, I mean, seeing this visit brings me back to what happened in 2014 when he went to the stand of the General Assembly of the UN and called it a coup d'etat, and he raised his Rab'a fingers, the four fingers of the MB, and this was quite a disastrous position, when the one that he took against the uprising of the Egyptian people with President al-Sisi. He also wasn't very cooperative when President also threatened that the line between Al-Jafra and Sirte is a red line, and I think because he was trying to expand the Turkish maritime waters rights in the Libyan one, in the Libyan special area. And also the third time was when President Sisi, with the mediation of the Emir of Qatar during the football matches, shook hands with him, and I think at that time, this was 2021 or 22, I'm not sure, and they agreed that they should have a conversation, have a talk, which meant that, please, we need to resume diplomatic relations again. I'm glad this man came to his mind, his senses again. We respect Turkey, we respect the Prime Minister, but at one time it was really a disaster situation from Turkey against Egypt.
Today, definitely both countries are working hand in hand vis-à-vis the Palestinian issue, the relief aid, the humanitarian situation in Gaza, achieving success in projecting both humanitarian leadership as well as political influence.
Yes, but we've seen, of course, Israel object the participation of Turkish forces when it comes to the policing Gaza. Now, as we've known, I mean, the reason is quite obvious. I mean, they had quite a blunder between the relations between Israel and Turkey. I mean, years ago with the famous ship, and now with, Turkey cutting all the relations, the trade relations with Israel and closing the airports and all that, the airspace and all that. So, relations between Israel and Turkey affected the Turkish participation in the Gaza police force. But you can never know. Things change every day. With Trump's mediation, perhaps, they would have an active role in the Gaza crossing. I know that Turks have been delivering food aid through Al Arish port, along with many other countries. So they have a very pivotal role to play here.
Yes, more than one important issue had been actually in the forefront today at the press conference, with Egypt, of course, stressing the convergence on the Palestinian cause, the unity of the Libyan state, the rejection of any sort of fragmentation scenarios in Sudan. So Egypt's diplomacy working very hard in achieving this sense of territorial integrity as the only viable path to sustainable peace.
Yes, but as I mentioned, their role in Libya wasn't very welcomed by us because, they tried to throw some maritime borders very far from theirs. But anyway, I'm glad that, they're not really intervening in the Libyan situation as they did before. And I think they took a lesson. I think the wise policy of Egypt and President Fattah al-Sisi is well accepted now and understood, I might say, by Prime Minister of Turkey. And hence this visit, because, we have this alliance now with Turkey, Egypt and Saudi Arabia, which is something that never happened before. As we know, some other countries, Saudi Arabia also had a pact also with Pakistan. So we can include Pakistan into this. So I think things are changing between relations between both countries, and it's affecting the whole region as well.
Yes. How do you see, Ambassador, our relations with Turkey now, in a way reshaping this regional power geometry, not only in the Eastern Mediterranean, but in the Middle East region at large?
I think the agreements that were signed on this visit is useful for Turkey and for Egypt. Let's come for Turkey. I mean, for Turkey, and we know that Turkey needs to have its natural gas resources because it lacks these. And Egypt, as we know, has the plants in Damietta, where we can transform the natural gas into liquefied natural gas, and we export it to many other countries. This is also a plus point. Second thing is, I think also the military cooperation, which wasn't really highlighted in this visit, is going on much better than before. Third thing is, when it comes to Egyptian profits from this relations with Turkey, it sort of neutralizes the intervention they had in Libya before. As we talked about the role they played in Libya, that wasn't very amusing for Egyptians and not very going along with the Egyptian policies there. I mean, they were intervening and providing militiamen and arms to certain factions there. So I think now that things are that they calm down, it is very important that we have this cooperation nowadays.
Yes, the political dialogue is of course going on, and at the same time we're witnessing the Cairo hopes for the business forum that is going to boost investments and increase the trade flows in order to serve the interests of both countries. Such bilateral economic engagements, how do you see them expanding regional trade networks and strengthening mutually beneficial partnerships, Ambassador?
Yes, I think they were aiming at $15 billion as a balance of trade between both countries. So this is, well, this is quite a target. I hope at one day we'll see this. Turkey has a lot to give Egypt. We see many Turkish products in our markets. Egyptian products are also in Turkey. And I think someone told me once a few years ago there's something like more than 3,000 Turkish factories in Egypt. Now, factories, of course, they might include small ones, small businesses. We're talking about garments, we're talking about fertilizers, we're talking about cars, we're talking about many things here. So I think cooperation between Egypt and Turkey is very beneficial when it comes to the Egyptian economy as well.
Yes, well, we have seen also a sense of partnership. Egypt is considered to be Turkey's largest trading partner. We're aiming of raising the trade from 8 billion to 15 billion, which is actually a sum and an important number. The attraction of Turkish investments in Egypt, especially that we are also unlocking more doors now.
Quite right, and I've seen some videos where one of them really was very interesting. There were two ladies who worked in a factory of garments in Turkey, and I saw this by mere coincidence. And they were talking that they have been laid off and they're out of work, but they are not very angry because the interviewer, who was a woman, was talking to them. So what now? They said, well, the factory moved to Egypt. So this is what happens. I mean, we have cheaper labor. We have a cheaper currency. We have new investment laws. The government here facilitates many things for the investors. And I think Turkey also is going to enter strongly into the free zone of the Suez Canal.
Yes.
And many other areas of the country. So it's really very profitable cooperation between both countries.
Yes. How do you see, Ambassador, the equation of combining political dialogue with regional economic integration?
Well, I think it's important. We've seen what Turkey does in Syria, for example. I mean, I always talk about it's a neighbor, and we know about the Kurds' problems, we know about the intervention of Turkey, we know about its relations with the special interim government in Turkey and its president. So this is one of the things also that they've done in Turkey, that to promote their own trade with Turkey and investments there and all that. With Egypt, Turkey, I think, looks at Egypt as a major player in the area, and they know, of course, that we've been playing this diplomatic role of mediation. So I think combining policies in the area for each country with the economic cooperation is very profitable for both of us, and I'm certain that, you know, in the coming years we'll have much bigger cooperation with Turkey.
Yes, definitely Egypt, as we all know, is Turkey's leading trading partner in Africa. So what sort of opportunities do you see before this sense of economic integration between both countries now?
That's a very important point. And we always say that Egypt is a doorway to African markets for countries who are outside Africa, like Turkey. And I think the Turks understand this quite well. I mean, they have a surplus of products they want to export to African countries, and not only having the Suez Canal as a gateway to Europe, between Asia and Europe, but also we are really, because of the agreements we have. I mean, we are a gateway because of the COMESA, for example, which serves almost half of the African countries on the east side. We chaired the African Union for 2 years, so we have excellent relations with the African countries. And I think it's very important that we help Turkey open their markets there, and in return we get big Turkish investments in our lands.
Yes, well, we've seen this sense of equation, Egypt's ability to align political dialogue as well as Turkish investment initiatives. So I guess that we are in need of this equation in a sense that Egypt has become a regional economic player in the region.
Yes, and I see this relation between Egypt and Turkey now as an example of many countries trying to
follow suit.
Pursue this up exactly with other countries. I mean, we have military cooperation, we have economic cooperation, and we have many interests that, you know, sort of come together. They meet together at certain points. So I think this is a very good visit. I think also tomorrow more agreements will be signed. I think this visit by the Prime Minister of Turkey to Egypt and Saudi Arabia really, managed to accomplish his targets. And I might say also that that Egypt also is making use of the some of the Turkish productions.
Yes.
And, they are perhaps a little bit advanced than us in some products.
Yes, the Egyptian-Turkish Business Forum has been also very successful, and we've seen earlier in the day the procedures. So we are actually channeling diplomacy into concrete growth, and Egypt is always seeking sustainability.
Exactly. I mean, we read every day and we watch the news about Chinese investments with hundreds of millions every day. Tire for cars, television sets, mobile phones, pharmaceuticals, many things. So I think also the Turks are playing the same role with the Egyptian free zone areas, and I think also that we are trying to grab more investments or lure more investments from other countries. Turkey has a lot to give us, and we have a lot to give them, so this cooperation is really ideal.
Yes. What sort of messages at the end of the day today, Ambassador, did you read from the political coordination between Cairo and Ankara meantime?
It is a message to the whole world, but to Israel mainly. I mean, we have some differences between Israel over the Gaza Strip. The Turks had the same. The Turks even have worse relations with Israel, as we've just talked about the refusal of the other side to involve Turkish policing into the Gaza Strip. So it is a message to the world that we have two Eastern Mediterranean countries. We're not Eastern Mediterranean, but we are part of the Eastern Mediterranean community because of the consortium of gas that we have here in Egypt. And also it gives a message to any other Arab or foreign countries that we have this alliance with Turkey, which is going to be very useful, I hope, throughout the coming years.
Definitely. There has been also a very nice gesture with the presidential spokesperson announcing that Turkish President Erdogan presented President Sisi with an electric car during this visit to Cairo. The president drove it, accompanied by the Turkish president, from Al Ittihadiyya Palace to the Business Forum. So reading this gesture, how do you read it?
Well, I'd like to have one of these cars.
Yeah.
It is a very nice gesture. I mean, we've seen President Sisi, for instance, visiting President Putin in Moscow.
Yeah.
Or other cities in Russia. We've seen also visits when he goes to the Emirates with Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. I mean, these things happen between leaders as a sort of promotion to their products, and I think it's a promotion to the Turkish industry.
Turkish industry, yeah.
Yes, we know that they have the drones that are sent everywhere, but when it comes to civil productions, I mean, we've seen the Turkish cars here throughout the past 30 years in Egypt. I don't know if they're still Shaheen and Murat and all that. At one time, these were very
popular.
Exactly.
In the market.
So having electric cars, I think they know that we're trying to do some. We are manufacturing some electric and hybrid cars in Egypt these days.
Egypt and Turkey, with a strategic partnership poised to reshape regional stability and prosperity. What's next, Ambassador, in this sense of partnership as you read it?
I think we're all awaiting the diffusion of the Gaza Strip crisis. I mean, it hasn't been going on as expected because of the Israelis' policies of lingering and putting a damp towel on everything as they used to with everything else. So I think this alliance would help also into interfering in perhaps solving the Libyan crisis now. Turkey, I think, also sent messages that it is well aware of what's happening in Sudan, and it's willing to help diffuse the war in Sudan. So instead of mediating alone, maybe in the coming days we can see a joint mediation between Egypt and Turkey at the same time.
Yes.
With Egypt and Turkey at one side, I mean.
Yes. Once again, President Donald Trump's peace plan, the scenarios, what would be next? What sort of challenges do you see, Ambassador?
I think the challenge that the President sees now, President Trump, is the threat from China. I mean, he always talks about putting tariffs on China, then he retracts them, then he comes again with them. The European Union, of course, he signed a huge deal with India. I mean, both parties were waiting 30 years for it, which opens the European Union for, this is of course not to the liking of Americans, to the Indian products and vice versa. And also, the European Union is trying to distance itself from the American dependence. I mean, we've seen NATO and what happened with Greenland, with all the NATO European countries very unhappy about the Trump's speeches about invading almost Greenland. And luckily this didn't happen. But this also made them, and he also keeps telling them about Ukraine, this is your problem, you should solve it. So I think we're going to see in the coming months a rift between the European continent and the United States. In short, the Western alliance will be sort of drifting apart.
Yes. From Gaza to Somalia and Egypt's rejection of any attempts, of course, to divide Somalia. And we have lots of diplomatic efforts in that track.
This is very important because the Turks, they have a military base in Djibouti as well. And I think we have relations, very good relations with Somalia, not Somaliland, with the Somalian government.
Yeah.
And we can see some cooperation when it comes to the Red Sea entrance, which is something that we also very keen to have it peaceful navigation of vessels reaching the Suez Canal, because we're talking about the Suez Canal, which was affected when the Americans and Israelis bombed the Houthis in Yemen. Cooperation perhaps with Ethiopia, they have some investments in Ethiopia. Something happened with the GERD, not very sure because the Ethiopians are very tough-minded when it comes to any mediation efforts these days. They even refused President Trump's plan to arrange for a meeting. So, but I think on the whole, we would work with Turkey from now on several issues when it comes to the Red Sea, security and security in the region.
Yes. To have a recap, like in a couple of minutes, Ambassador, to the central role that is played by Egypt in shaping long-term peace and security in the region, and building on what has happened today in such an important visit by President Erdogan to Cairo.
Right. Well, we've never witnessed what we're seeing now with the neighbors of Egypt. I mean, we never had wars north, south, east, and west. North, I mean Ukraine. It's even a war which is not very far from us, and has been affecting, of course, our importation of grains and wheat and all that. So we are surrounded by war areas, which is something that unprecedented through Egyptian history. We never saw devastating, and these wars are really taking their time. I mean, the war in Ukraine, for example, is entering its 4th year this month. Not so many people remember that. I mean, the Russian invasion was on the 22nd of February. So a war that's been going on for 4 years. Look at Sudan and all the thousands of people that are malnourished and
okay. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Youssef Zada, former Assistant to the Foreign Minister, for joining us on the Daily Debate.